Hey, this is Robert Newman, the founder of InboundREM, and today I'm going to re-review Ylopo for the end of 2023. Before we get started, in case you don't know who I am a real estate marketing veteran. I've been in the real estate marketing industry for 15 years. I sit on the board of a couple of real estate prop tech companies. I'm the founder of my own real estate marketing company called Inbound Real Estate Marketing, or Inbound REM. I've consulted with a lot of the companies at this point that I review, a lot of the top 10 real estate marketing companies. And I've been the senior vice president for Inforza, real estate marketing company. I've helped establish the online marketing division for Agent Image, and so on and so forth. Very large history with residential real estate marketing. I've also worked with the top, or about 50% of the top 1 to 2% of real estate agents here in Southern California, where I'm located. And today we're going to re-review Ylopo. If you're curious to know when I say re-review, what do I mean? You can go to YouTube, just do Ylopo reviews. This is my partner in my podcast, our shared podcast called the Mailright Podcast. This is my partner again right here, talking to somebody that he's done some business with. So these two guys are there. And then, of course, here I am, probably with the most established Ylopo review with nearly 7,000 views that I did a few years ago. Now, I dropped a re-review about 4 months ago, and the Ylopo team, in the form of Aaron Franklin, saw that review, contacted me because they felt that some of the things I was saying inside the review was inaccurate. In an effort to show me my inaccuracies, what Aaron arranged meetings with Barry Jenkins, Howard Tager, and Juefeng. And in case you are new to Ylopo, that is the CTO, the CEO, and a position that they call a realtor in residence. And once I spoke to that team, there was actually a fair number of things that I felt, given a lot of due consideration, months worth actually, that they were 100% correct on. I got a lot wrong. So before I go on to the deeper review, and this review, just in case you all are typical YouTube viewers, you're impatient, you want to get to the meat of it. I'm going to do a flow chart. I'm going to explain in simple terms what it is that Ylopo does, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing that because I haven't done that before. It's new content, a new idea. So for those of you who really want to try to understand Ylopo, stay tuned or skip to the index. And for those of you who are interested in my retraction, this is for you. So I inferred strongly, because it was my opinion, it was just my opinion, that Ylopo was in the process of probably building up its value to sell itself. I made some guesses as to Howard Taker's mindset when he established a previous marketing company called Tiger Leads. And effectively, I got much of that wrong. And the ways in which Ylopo showed up to try to help me understand their position is an experience that so far has been singular to them. They probably did a total of 4 meetings. One of those meetings was while Howard Tager and Barry Jenkins were on vacation in Costa Rica. And they pulled back a lot of proprietary data after giving it a deep amount of thought. Even though I did have some permissions to talk about some of it, I've decided to talk about none of it. I am simply going to say that Ylopo gave me pretty incredible access to their internal numbers, their internal thinking, how they operate their company, how they created value for themselves, what their vision is, and my method of assessing is to ask extremely direct questions, to which they actually did give me almost 100% transparency, if memory serves me correctly. The reason there was such a long period between that series of interviews and now is I wanted to follow up my conversations with them by talking to actual Ylopo users, which I've now done. I've talked to not as many, nearly as many as I would like, but I've talked about additional 10 accounts since the original conversation with them to make sure that in this update, I gave what was an accurate, considered review. In no uncertain terms, Ylopo has convinced me that they are not going to be wrapping up the company to sell them, to sell it. At least that's not their objective. As with any business owner, I'm sure if somebody offered them enough money that they would end up selling the enterprise, which is effectively what how G responded to some of what I said, which very specifically, I had said that it didn't feel like he had cashed out because he was partners with Howard Tager in Ylopo the first time around, or sorry, not Ylopo, in Tiger Leads. And I knew them back then. For those of you who are new to my reviews, I actually had met them back when they were still running Tiger Leads together, and the situation between them and that business was completely different. In this business, G is an actual partner, and in the original Tiger Leads business, Howard Tager had other partners, and G was just a young and rising talent that he was working closely with. So fast forward a bit, Howard sold that company and took G on as a partner. They started Ylopo, which is another marketing company, and this time they have figured out a way to make sure that G is taken care of without necessarily having to sell the company, which is what I proposed. I said it was my opinion and this was my thought, and they had a rock solid way to make that a not necessity. They figured out a way so that they didn't have to do that to receive value from the kind of company, the kind of work, the kind of effort it takes to build something like Ylopo. So that's number one. Number two, Howard had never, I haven't sat down and had a conversation with Howard directly in a long time, years, maybe a decade, like it had been a while. The intention had been there. Aaron had tried to arrange it a couple times. G had referenced him, but never had the schedules really aligned. This time, Howard took the time to manage a meeting himself directly. Okay, so Howard was there, and in that meeting, he kind of set the record straight with some of the things that happened with the way that he sold Tiger Leads, his opinions about it, because I had volunteered an opinion that suggested if you're an entrepreneur who's used to building up a company and looking for an early exit, which Howard on paper seemed to be, then this had all the earmarks of exactly where they were at with Tiger Leads. And it seemed reasonable to assume they would do with Ylopo what Howard had already done with Tiger Leads. And it just turned out that what my perception was and what the truth was were two different things. Howard really seemed to want and try to do something enduring with Tiger Leads, and through a variety of circumstances that I'll let them speak about themselves, but that I believe, that I bought into, he just wasn't able to do it. He just wasn't able to do it. So it changed my opinion. All of you out there who are watching this video, you must take the time, if any of this matters to you, to establish your own opinion. Now, those are the big things. There were other small things as well. We got the numbers wrong. I got the numbers wrong because I had seen something in the Ylopo community Facebook page that seemed to suggest that the numbers were lower than they actually are. And I'm going to cover that in a little bit. I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go over Barry Jenkins' part. So let me just end this little part of the redo for those of you, the 65 of you who may have watched the first video, is there's a few things that I still buy into and there's a few things that I don't. Now, while Ylopo did manage to change my mind on many things, here's a couple of things that still remain true as a thread throughout all of my reviews. I have not actually managed to talk to any clients that seem to think that they can take their Squarespace website with them. So there's no website ownership. I've encountered a number of clients who said that they've tried and been turned down. Aaron Franklin seems to be saying that you can take your Squarespace website with you. I have not yet found that to be the case. And I am a big proponent of a person owning and controlling their website. Okay, so that I'm not going to change my opinion on. I think that Squarespace is a poor decision for Ylopo. I think that they should have stuck with WordPress. That's just my opinion. But they obviously wanted something that was a very fast and efficient website editor. That's just my opinion. It differs from the Ylopo team. They have very good reasons, and I'm not saying that they don't build a very good website, because they do. But I just disagree with some of the longer term core principles. And so when it comes time to review that section of their projects, I'm never going to be a huge fan, because ultimately you don't control that. And when you leave their company, you are likely leaving everything behind, and whatever they charged you, you just burn that money up. Like if Ylopo is not going to be a permanent home, you're not going to see value from that website investment long term. So that's one contrary thought that didn't necessarily get washed out. One thing that I do want to say before I get into what a lot of you are going to be waiting for, which is making Ylopo digestible and understandable, I want to say one thing really clearly and upfront. Now, having said my differing opinion about the website stack that they use, let me also say the following. The Ylopo team is the most involved, considerate, forward-thinking, amazing marketing team that I've ever had the personal joy of interacting with. Just because I disagree with a few things that they're doing, I don't want anybody to misunderstand. This is a solid company being run by guys who really care about what they're doing and are trying their best to navigate what is a very difficult real estate market. Just because I happen to disagree with them on a couple of points does not mean that I don't think that they're an incredible company and that I don't guide people there occasionally. When I look at what somebody needs, I will occasionally steer them in the direction of Ylopo. Okay, I've sent them way more clients than they've ever sent me. Let's put it that way. So these guys have built a very impressive thing. But having said that, there's a few things that you do need to know about this impressive thing. The Ylopo stack in 2023, unfortunately, is more complicated than it was when I first reviewed them back in 2019. They have more options. They've added different features to what is essentially a marketing funnel that they've built. That's it. Okay, a funnel is just a series of activities that you take in order to get a result. And most real estate agents are paying, and in teams, brokers, like other CMOs that work for real estate teams, it doesn't matter. You're all just looking for somebody else to have built the system and that it works. And in terms of somebody who's building a system, if you're going to ask me that question and say, I have one guy that I can pick to build a system in the entire US, who's that guy going to be? Even if my own name was on the list, I would still say G. G would be the dude. If I was going to have marketing dollars being paid in a search marketing campaign with a funnel attached to it, G is going to be my guy. Now, having said that, I have done for this review, so we're moving on to another section, and this section is what did the customer experience research say? I managed to find out that most of the people that I were talking to, the ones that were staying with Ylopo, and there's still a high degree of turnover, which is another thing that I said in my review, and G did give me some numbers. My personal research just isn't quite matching out with that. And I'm not saying there was I just want to be clear. I'm 100% sure that I was given accurate information. I just think that maybe the market's changing very rapidly. And so most of the people that I talked to were either in the process of leaving Ylopo, not because they didn't like Ylopo, but because this is a very, very tough marketplace and lead count is going down across the board. This is a very pricey search marketing operation. So if you want to get all the bells and whistles that make Ylopo most likely to yield you the highest results, then this is going to be somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 in most cases. So uh, those clients using Ylopo that I talked to are getting about a 2 to 4% conversion rate overall, with about a 12 to 18 month timeline on conversion. And those numbers are rapidly changing. So to put that into clear, unadulterated language for those of you watching this review, or more like update to another review that I already did, that means that right now in 2023, if you were to get 100 registrations with Ylopo, the average result would be after 12 to months to 14 months, maybe, you're going to see 2 to 4% of those leads close. If you're an average realtor, okay? I did talk to Barry Jenkins, and he is the farthest thing away from average as I've had the good fortune to speak to in terms of digital marketing. So I'm going to update everybody with what his results are, but I just need to be clear that, I mean, it would be like me trying to tell all of you I applied a system and I'm getting a 20 to 1 return. You know, come join me. It's unlikely. It's just unlikely. There's digital flourishes that you can make that are second nature to professional digital marketers that they're going to get in and tweak their systems with. Setting up a CRM might take me a day, including follow-up emails. And for some of my clients, it's taken them over 12 to 18 months. And that's with action plans and other pre-made material that like Ylopo has for you. So, um, so the 2 to 4% puts Ylopo actually in the same range as other systems that are out there in terms of overall response. Again, I want everybody, including the Ylopo team, to understand that in order to do this redux this time, what I did is 3 or 4 months of additional research, and I was very, very targeted and careful in my solicitation of information. At the end of the day, though, this is still just my opinion. You take it or leave it. I'm not telling you it's gospel. And I only have a limited pool of people that I can talk to. I've got my clients, I got my sphere of influence, but I'm just one guy juggling a lot of balls and not able to just pursue this full time. So I kind of cycled it into conversations, and whenever anybody would say, bring up Ylopo, it wasn't necessarily the best possible case study environment that one could have. So I'm going to say that take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, but I am giving you the data as I got it. So people using other systems seem to be reporting about the same numbers. Here's the main difference though. Systems like Sync and Boomtown and maybe Playster, but I haven't really dug into their new system. Real Geeks, all the comparable systems, and many of you aren't going to know who those are. Sierra Interactive, Real Estate Webmasters, these are all kind of like CRM, search marketing platforms that say drive traffic in, pay advertising dollars, we'll put them into some kind of funnel and response system, and we'll nurture them. Well, the one thing that I would say is that these other systems, while I'm seeing similar numbers, that information was delivered to me by very proactive agents. In other words, to get those numbers, those agents were oftentimes placing a lot of phone calls and doing a lot of follow-up and spending a lot of time. Whereas with Ylopo, it seemed to be universal that less activity by far was required to get the results that we're talking about. So it's more of what these systems all advertise to be, which is truly an autonomous environment that does a lot, if not most of the work for you. So for that, I have to say, once again, even with a huge amount of research, I have found that once again, Ylopo seems to be leading the stack in autonomous results. I just caution everybody in terms of the numbers. Right now is a very difficult time to be a real estate marketing company in the search marketing side of the business. All right. Now that I've said that, for those of you who've stuck through for 20 minutes, I'm going to do a re-review of how Ylopo works. You should be able to see my screen. You should be able to see a flow chart. So Ylopo pays for traffic off Google and Facebook. Maybe they might have some other ways that I'm not familiar with. So please take into account that what I'm going to do is cover the high level basics of Ylopo. They then drive you to a Squarespace website. Okay, my first review has examples of those websites. And again, if you're looking for what my review is, it's the Ylopo Uncensored Review. And even though it is 3 years old, most of it is still accurate. So just refer to that review. And when you look up Ylopo, you'll discover that I have another hour-long Follow-Up Boss review that is also one of the most watched reviews on Follow-Up Boss that exists. So when you go to here, sorry, my bad. Ylopo, you get driven to a website. Now, Google has higher intent traffic, but it's also more expensive. Facebook has cheaper traffic, but it's not as high intent. Last I talked, which was not recent enough to say that this information is accurate anymore, but I'm going to say the last that I spoke to the team about the mechanics of how they were doing advertising and driving results, there was some homebot and some visual elements, especially on Facebook, that were used to try to solidify a lead. Google usually start with a fairly high intent lead. InboundREM, the company that I founded, is deeply immersed in the Google world. My moniker for myself is a search engine optimization and inbound marketer, but that probably sounds very unclear to most people. So I understand how search engines work. I've been focused on Google for a long time, and I like answering people's questions and creating credibility through videos like this, and advise my clients to do the same, where effectively you create a lot of authority by literally providing information that people are going to find valuable for free. No strings attached, that's inbound marketing. That's it. It's the simplest way I can explain it. So it's different than this. This is push marketing. You drive somebody someplace. So you go here, and here's what's next. So you have a website IDX. Now here's something amazing that this team has done. They've got 4 or 5 layers of technology, and this is probably what makes it very complicated for most people to understand. A website IDX is simply a tool that takes data from an MLS, property information, and reformats it for a website. That's all it is. The reason that a company like Ylopo or me would like control of the data stream is that we're able to put in something like little signposts. And we can't put in signposts unless we're given control of the data stream. And so the Ylopo has control of their data stream. And what they do is they put in little signposts that oftentimes are referred to as user behavior marketing. That may not be what they're calling it. They probably call it like Raya. They may not call it anything to the people that they're talking to, but it's user behavior marketing. That means that you do X and the technology that they're using does Y. Now, I don't pretend to know where all the signposts are inside their environments, okay? All I will say is that I'm certain, because I built tools like this before, that many of them are inside the searches, the website IDX, the property information. So while you're doing searches or doing cool things on the website, there's other tools, the tools that are responding to those signposts, that then will send messages to the person doing the searches. Are you really deeply interested in 6268 Lamone Avenue, whatever it is? And we've noticed that you've looked at this 4 different times. We're really excited about it, but can we answer any questions for you? Oftentimes that user behavior response is sent out through text messaging. So however it is that people do it, at some point, the objective of most website campaigns that are similar to this is to get what's called a registration. Registration is name, telephone number, and email address. Just something that I've said before publicly and live, and I'm not saying it doesn't work. It works great with Ylopo, but I am going to say that my own information, my own experiences, my own personal nature says that registrations, things that require people to write their information and leave it with you, are getting harder to get. Very similar to telemarketing, which is my background for 25 plus years. People are getting inundated with text messaging, with lead registration prompts. And so this lead registration mechanism is uh, harder to master right now. Ylopo's got a few different ways that they're trying to master it. They've got long form and short form lead registration. From what I understand, the long form registration, I've talked to 2 of their initial beta clients. And those initial beta clients said that the lead registration information that they got was indeed very robust, but that it did not actually impact the closing time, numbers, or period that related to the deal. They just got more information and perhaps were better able to introduce themselves, better able to um, do something with that lead, but not that it actually led to something that would technically be an ROI-based signal. Once those leads are registered, they go into Follow-Up Boss. By far and away, still to this very day, my favorite CRM. That CRM is what Ylopo uses. It is, I think I may have followed along in their footsteps or looked at the signpost that they left me and said, and examined Follow-Up Boss. And I have still to this very day found that this adage holds true. A CRM is only good as your ability to use it. Follow-Up Boss is by far and away the easiest tool to use of any real estate tool I've ever looked at. They always educate you on how to use the tool from within the tool. Okay? I am trying to build the same principles into some of the same tools that I build because it's such an incredible way to give value to you guys, the guys that use the systems. The CRM which is the Follow-Up Boss, it's the same thing. I'm just calling it something different. So those of you who are out there who don't know what Follow-Up Boss is, understand it's a CRM. Then get into a separate set of signals. You're now outside the Ylopo ecosphere. The Ylopo team is so proactive that they've built out some action plans that you can follow. I've reviewed those action plans. They're okay. On a scale of 0 to 10, I'd give them a 7 or an 8. I've used a few of them. They're not bad. You want something really great, though, you're going to have to customize it yourself. And I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way, I think that Gabe or Barry Jenkins have said the same thing. This is how Google works. So a couple of the numbers that I said the first review that may or may not that I have to retract. So originally I said that Barry Jenkins was doing 7 to 1. He showed me his numbers. In 2023, he's doing 10 to 1, or he was at the time that I talked to him. This is the one number that I was given concrete evidence to that I'm going to repeat as it was given to me so that I don't accidentally say something I shouldn't about that, in terms of the access I was given when I was talking to all the principals of Ylopo. I want to be incredibly respectful of both their time and their trust. So I'm going to say it was 10 to 1. So definitely a big difference over what I said originally. I still have some of the same cautionary notes. I still feel the same way about it. The conversation with Barry definitely made me feel more of the same that I felt the first time around, which is this. He's a guy that really knows what he's doing. He spent a lot of time and energy figuring the digital stuff out. At this point, he and Gabe are both hired on internal resources that are partnered with Ylopo. They're really involved in the Ylopo ecosphere. Now, this is a huge bonus, a huge plus, and definitely something that I say to everybody listening. This makes Ylopo incredibly unique. And once again, the one area I've always given Ylopo really strong marks in is actually the best. What am I saying really strong? They're the leader. They're the leader. Is their Ylopo success community. It is something where Aaron Franklin has done something nothing short of genius. Most of the time you hear me talk about G and Howard, I feel like Aaron really drives a lot of the conversations that they have about SEO because he has an SEO background himself. He drives a lot of the conversations probably surrounding community. I have no idea if he was following a directive or following his instincts, but one way or the other, whether one was true or the other was true, they have built an amazing community at Ylopo, of which Barry, Jenkins, Gabe, and I think one other person are now part of. And I dream of the day that I can have a community with active real estate agents in it that are so immersed in it that they consider themselves part of the core marketing team. It is a dream. And so for those of you who are really proactive and digitally savvy or have enough knowledge just to get, find yourself in dangerous waters, Ylopo has got to be a service that you look at seriously. It is just the largest group of the most helpful education focused resources that you can find inside the entire real estate marketing space, bar none. I know all the other companies like the back of my hand. I know the leadership. I know what they're doing. And most of them are stuck in the weeds with principles that are years out of date in terms of how to be of service to your clientele. So Ylopo is none of those things. They're bleeding edge in everything that they do. So on a like a help and education, it's 10 of 10. But search marketing right now, and I just want to be clear and separate out my points of view. Search marketing is a little rough. Because they are so robust and so complicated, it's a little pricey, like to get everything in place. And with the numbers being what they are, I would say that right now Ylopo is not for the starting or faint of heart marketer. Now, there are a couple things that you could do if you're an established real estate agent with a database. The number one recommendation I have made to my own clients is to go, they have a service where you skip all the advertisement, but you build the website and you send people to an IDX site. And for a very small amount of money, you can drive, emails out to existing clients, send them to Ylopo, get all this user behavior marketing stuff, and you can do it all for about half the price of their entire package. So you get great user behavior marketing, a really strong search feature to an existing database. What an incredible way. My number one recommendation for database marketing used to be, um, oh God, I've already blocked them out of my brain. It's not Zillow. It's some weird. Anyway, I'll figure it out. And hold on. Zerple. Zerpo is the name of the company, and they were also another behavioral marketing company. If you have an established email list and you're looking to revive those emails, a newsletter with a link to your current website that is a behavioral marketing website is a really great way to get top value out of a combined like inbound marketing strategy. Simply we drop a piece of content with a huge amount of value, your take on local events such as let's just say like in Newport Beach where I live there in wintertime, all the rich people get together and they put Christmas lights in their boat and they drive them through under a bridge that's normally closed and it's open. It's called the Parade of Lights. And it is, if you live anywhere in Orange County, you know it. It's thousands upon thousands of people go to watch people do these beautiful, beautiful decorations on their boat. So if you were to send out a newsletter that talked about either your participation in or how excited you were to go to it, and then by the way, if you're looking for, a home during the Christmas season, here's a link, and then it sends them to a website that then has the behavioral marketing component to it. It's a really good way to get really great value out of an existing database. And when I make that recommendation, Ylopo is 100% of the time the tool that I suggest that you use. Now, I remember the cost was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $800 a month to do this previously. I have no idea if that's still the case. Maybe $1,500 for a website, $800 for ongoing for database marketing. So the numbers in today's market that would make that all make sense, you probably need 1,000 to 2,000 existing, like an actual list of people who know who you are. And then maybe you could see a few deals come through the door, which almost everywhere in the country, that would be worth it. So as you are using your Ylopo system, if some of you were thinking of canceling, perhaps what you should be thinking of doing is instead of canceling entirely, maybe scaling down your marketing plan and using it to just do the database marketing bit. Because if you called me, that's what I'd be recommending. Now, whether or not they want you to do that internally, whether Ylopo has any interest in that, I have no idea. They may be resistant to that. They may tell you to cancel the project. I don't know. But that would be what I would do if I was using them and didn't want to keep spending $2,000 or $3,000 in total to do all of that search marketing. And I might get rid of the Raya piece, even though I think that Raya is only a couple $100 a month. So for a database campaign, that would be worth it. Okay, so you probably want to keep Raya activated if you're going to take this particular piece of advice. Another thing, I experienced this with my own clients. My reviews are geared towards what I think the average residential real estate salesperson or residential real estate broker, where they're at. Every single time you take somebody who is not regular, generally speaking, they're going to figure out a way to get top value out of any systems they're using. I think that's true in Ylopo. I also want to say that in very rarefied cases, there isn't a conversation about a search marketing platform versus an organic marketing platform, which is what we do, and we're one of the only ones that does it. You can do everything at the highest possible level when you are doing the way that I evaluate marketing systems is, can they generate you an ROI? Now, even a halfway decent user of a search marketing platform should be able to get a 2-to-1 as long as Ylopo has not oversold their territory, which leads me to the very last comment, and certainly one of the more contentious subjects that I said the first time around and that I got like a little bit of, I'm not going to say pushback. It was just like, this is how we really do it, Robert. So if you're going to say this information, please say it with the data, our internal data at your fingertips. So G did give me his internal data. And I hesitate to say that I'm going to share that number. I'm just going to say I know the number that they use. And I don't know that I agreed with G about the way that he views an oversaturated market. I think it's very skewed to being the dominant real estate marketing company in the US, which Ylopo absolutely is. At this point, it is safe to say that most other marketing companies are chasing Ylopo. There is a handful of exceptions, or people that are doing something so different like me or Real Estate Webmasters or Sierra Interactive that we're really not necessarily directly competing with Ylopo. But all the pure lead generators like Real Geeks and Sync and Boomtown and KV Core, they are absolutely competing against Ylopo and Chime now. Well, Chime really is saying that they're competing, but they haven't gotten their shit together to really be competing, but they want to compete. So I'm going to say that Ylopo is the leader. They've been the leader for a bit, but I think now the numbers probably would prove that they're the leader. I think they're the leader by actual big teams using them, actual people who are notable lead generators inside the industry, people who really lean heavily into digital. I'd say that Ylopo has a lot of those people as their customers. So they would be the company to catch. All right. But having said all that, I definitely think they're oversold. I think that the definition that they have for oversold, if I was a person who was in that market and using their definition, I'd be like, holy cow, that, I can't do this. Too much people running into each other and experiencing the same exact funnel over and over again. They did give me a number about how many of the markets applied that mathematics to. And once again, out of respect for them, I'm not going to say. I'm merely going to say to everybody listening to this review, ask them. I will say there's another thing that defines Ylopo better than most other marketing companies. And I am so sad to say this, but most real estate marketing companies that you could name don't have very forthright sales teams or very educated. Could be a combination of the two. Ylopo seems to be the difference. Of all the things that I've heard about Ylopo, bad or misrepresentative salespeople is not one of them. Complicated, I get a lot, but bad or misrepresenting salespeople is not one of them. So somebody, who knows who, I don't pretend to know, maybe Howard, somebody took a lot of time and attention to who's building out their sales efforts and trying to make sure that the best and at least honest information is being given to the people that are calling into them. That's a rarity in the real estate marketing industry, actually. Unfortunately, you cannot necessarily count on the fact that the agents that you're speaking to on the phone know what they're talking about and even come close to having your best interests at heart. And it breaks my heart to say that because I've run some of these sales teams, so I really know what I'm talking about. But Ylopo is not that. They're super at the top of the game. So that leads me to say the following. Just ask. Ask the person that you're talking to. Cross our fingers. Hopefully they'll tell you if your market is saturated. If they say that it's coming close to hitting what Ylopo considers to be saturated, I would be very cautious about that decision, personally. That's my honest assessment. I know the Ylopo team's going to watch this. Sorry, guys. It's just the way I feel about it. So, but if they say they only have a few clients or very few, or they're not close to oversaturated, then once again, this remains a strong choice. But you should absolutely ask the questions, especially if you're in any of the major metro markets in Texas, California, Florida, and with maybe a note on some of the Pacific Northwest markets, such as Seattle, things like that. Like if you know you're in a major tech corridor or that you suspect strongly you're near one of the big major like top 10 cities in the US, I would be asking the question and expecting a lot of clarity in the answer, okay? In order to make my evaluation of this particular company and try to see if it's fit for you. I hope that you found this review and this updated review helpful. I hope that you'll give me a thumbs up or a like or leave me a comment about what you thought. I really dove deep and I took a lot of time on this one because just as a footnote, these guys, man, they are so connected and involved. I wish everybody was that way. I really do. I wish I could tell all of you watching this video that every single real estate marketing entrepreneur and every single marketing company had these really driven, like completely involved, passionate founders and people, and then below them, other people that lead entire sections of the company. That's just not the case. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a great day. And if there's something I can be of service with, you just look down in the notes, my contact information, my website, if you want to check it out, they're all going to be in the description or the notes below this video, along with a video index so that you could navigate to and from sections that you may want to review better or easier. If you're looking for a more traditional review, please check out my original one from 3 years ago. It is still valid. It is still good. It still gets a few hundred or a few thousand. I don't know what it is, but it still gets like a couple hundred views per month. You'll still find it useful. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.